Welcome to the announcement of the next YouTubers Hamfest. Hey Frank, play that awesome promo video.
Play that awesome promo video!
Still down from the lack of amateur radio conventions? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
We've got your back.
We're doing it again.
Join us Friday, May 28th through Sunday the 30th
For the biggest,
The loudest,
The largest.
The most extremist. Wait a minute. Are we all extremists? Who let Frank write this thing? I'm not reading that.
yeah, you can tell Frank I'm not reading that.
What is this? An iPhone release?
I'm not doing it.
Jason did.
I'm not. Don't blame me.
All right, where was I? For the second YouTubers Hamfest around the world.
We'll bring you all the new information about
New radios.
Frequency mode.
Antennas.
The hottest accessories.
And providing the latest information on our hobby.
along with interviews. Blah, blah, blah.
Along with interviews from all our favorite vendors.
So take a break from searching from that random touch lamp that your wife placed in the house and join me.
And me.
And me.
And
And
me.
me. And all of us.
Along with some of the largest.
To the smallest ham radio creators.
From your comfortable and safe place, without worrying about picking up anything unwanted.
Man, I was talking about an extra Bofing antenna. You guys got to get your heads out of the gutter there.
Let's all forget about 2020. It's more than 6 months into 2021.
So bring your favorite drink
Or send me mine. I'm good on QRZ.
because we will be doing a happy hour.
I'm gonna bring my cigars.
I'm bringing whiskey.
A good scotch.
I like a good fresca.
Which one of you guys put tea in my whiskey cup?
Join us Friday, May the 28th through to Sunday the 30th.
For your front row seat to the second annual YouTubers Hamfest.
2021.
Stop making the noise.
Thank you for being here tonight. Got a really special show for everyone tonight, and hope that you enjoy it. This is a little bit different for me, but it's along the lines of things I like to do, and we're gonna bring the Urban Prepper on here in just a bit. The link to his YouTube channel is in the description below, so if you've never checked out his channel, be sure and do that. He's got a lot of really good information for folks who live in the urban areas similar to where I live. So I thought it was very interesting myself. So a couple of quick announcements real quick. As I mentioned the other day, the Tapper Digital Communications Conference, which is taking place in September, they've put up a survey. They want to know if you're interested in the conference, and if so, if you'd be interested in attending it if they did it live in Charlotte, North Carolina. So you can go out there and click yes or no to that if you have gone to that in the past. If you are interested in it at all, go out there, fill out the survey, and let everyone know what you think about that, because they're going to do it. It's just a matter of whether they do it virtually or like last year, or whether they do it live like they've been doing for 20 or 30 years before that. So it's been a long time. Their anniversary year is either this year or next year. I can't remember which one. As I said, as the intro said a minute ago, YouTubers Hamfest is Memorial Weekend. So it's about a month from about a month from this weekend. We were on the happy hour chat on Friday, and everybody was like, wow, that's like a month away. We're ready. we're pretty much ready. We've got our schedule hammered out. We'll be posting the schedule on this website soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. And we'll go from there. But got a lot of new guests that were not part of the YouTubers Hamfest last year. Got some new channels joining us, joining the YouTubers bunch on the Hamfest, and got some returning guests that were part of the event last year. The event last year was very fun, had a really good time, and looking forward to it again this year. Memorial Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Friday night, pretty much all day Saturday and Sunday, if it goes the way that we are planning right now. This coming Wednesday for my lunchtime live stream, I will be interviewing Tim Duffy, K3LR for Contest University, which is, I think, 2 weeks from Thursday. It's either 1 or 2 weeks from this coming Thursday. It's the Thursday before the would-be Hamvention weekend. The Hamvention QSO party is taking place that same week, or that Saturday. So Contest University is the Thursday before when Hamvention would normally be. if it was happening, besides just the QSO party this year. So he's going to be coming on, talk to us about Contest University. You can go register now, contestuniversity.com. Frank's got that link in the chat, and you just click right there to register. I just registered myself about an hour ago. So going to be attending that. Some really cool stuff about HF contesting, if you're into that sort of thing, which that's some of my favorite stuff to do online. So I'm always interested in learning more about that and seeing how I can upgrade my game, as it were. The last thing is a week from today, a couple of different things here. Number one, my Patreon account has been around for some time. I passed 100 patrons just like a week ago. And I thought that was a pretty cool milestone. And it falls in line with a week from tonight, which is May 2nd, which May 2nd is my actual celebrated anniversary on YouTube. I will have been on YouTube for 6 years. A week from tonight, Frank and I have a special kind of announcement thing we're going to be doing that night, kind of like a promotional something. This was Frank's idea. I thought it was a good idea. I said, why don't you come on the stream and share it? So we're going to be talking about that on the stream next Sunday at our normal time for our normal live stream, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, which is about midnight UTC in the world right now, but patreon.com/ham radio. All of the patrons make the channel possible. They help greatly with pushing the channel forward, and I thank you, all of you, for being here and supporting the channel as you do. So let me switch over here. I'm going to do that just like that. I'm going to put my headset on and get my screens correct around here. So thanks for being here. I see, yeah, Frank's in the chat. I've got Smoke Signals RF. See out there, Izzo. Thanks for being here. Let's see, Noel's in the chat. T-Man's in the chat. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate y'all showing up tonight. So I'm going to bring on Cliff, the Urban Prepper, and let me make sure I've got that screen correct there. And good evening, man. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Jason?
Oh, good. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for taking the time out. I know that it's dinner time in Seattle right now. So,
well, thanks so much for having me out here.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Going to be a fun time. So, really appreciate you taking the time out, because I know that Ham Radio. So the way I found you is through another YouTuber, the Tech Prepper, actually, if you know him.
Yes.
So he and I were chatting on Discord one day, and he's like, "Oh, I'm on the Urban Preppers Discord server," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. So let me go check that out." And I scroll down in there, and I found a channel on your server called Ham Radio. Yep. So I go in there and I start talking to people, and several people were like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I've watched your channel." Blah, blah, blah. And so, what's her name? Denise, is that right?
Yeah, Denise.
She was. She wants to set me up for one of the VC chats to just talk about ham radio, and I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on there. The Discord server, we have so many different. Prepping such a vast topic. There's ham radio is one part of it, but there's the medical and tactical stuff and food preservation and all sorts of things. But we've been doing some pretty cool things with regard to Zoom style prepping tutorials and having various guests come on there. We have guests that feature knives. We have guests that feature. You would be our first hammy over there, which would be awesome. But yeah, it's a pretty cool outlet. That's kind of. That we're able to bring people over from the YouTube channel and get a lot of discussions going on a variety of different topics. There's all sorts of different topics going over there, so it's pretty fun.
Good. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot more. I mean, I have a Discord server myself, and we just talk about different areas of ham radio, basically. But I mean, your server has a lot more channels, and there is a huge variety out there. So, if you would, just DM me the link to your Discord server, because I didn't ask you that beforehand, and I'll share it in my chat tonight.
Yeah, I was just getting it right now. So
okay.
Yeah, we have we do have a ham channel there, but we have stuff on EDC, on just home prepping, on bug out bags, on vehicle preps, on food preservation, cooking, home brewing, all sorts of things. They're all kind of prepping related to me though. So yeah, let me send you the link right now. Actually,
sure. Yeah, that'd be great. So
I could put it in the chat room, I guess, too. So.
Yeah, it may not let you post a URL in the YouTube chat, but
I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, yeah, just send it to me in Discord. That's the easiest way to do it. Yep. So cool. So tell us, first of all, I watched several after I found your Discord server. I watched several of your videos, so I think I know the answer to this. But tell us what the difference is between prepping. I mean, pretty much everybody knows what prepping is. So tell us why the Urban Prepper. I mean, I know you're in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
And what comes of an urban prep type situation, And and how does it differ from just like, going and camping out in the woods and living off grid for a week and a half or something?
Yeah. So, well, when I first started the channel, this was back in 2000. I started getting into prepping around 2009, 2010, and decided I was going to make a channel. But a lot of what I was seeing out there was prepping was talked in terms of wilderness survival, rural type preparedness, where you're out in the woods surviving and using life straws and stuff like that, fishing nets, and a lot of camouflage. And then a lot of it was gravitating more towards the military side of prepping, where some of the military style tactics, actually, that's where a lot of, I think, the acronyms came from, was from folks with a military background. But for me, it didn't really resonate as much with me because, I live in an urban environment, and you're in the suburbs and in the city, and, I'm closer to a Starbucks than I am to any kind of river where I'm going to fish out of. So, so a lot of prepping for me, it's different in an urban environment. There's more, you're part of the grid, you're part of the system, and there's different, as far as gray man principle, there's different ways of blending in the city than what you would have out in the woods or in more of a rural environment. So to me, I try to look at prepping in a different way, using the same kind of concepts and strategies and methodologies, but with an urban perspective as far as the type of capabilities that we have. We rely a lot on electronics and on solar and battery banks and all sorts of things like that. And then as far as the type of tools that you need, you might, in an urban environment, you might not need like an axe and a saw to cut wood in the same way that you would if you're out in the middle of the Amazon jungle. In an urban environment, you might need a crowbar or a 4-way silcock key for accessing water outside of industrial buildings, or you might need some kind of glass breaker to access if someone's stuck in their vehicle, for example. So a lot of the tools, I think, vary in an urban environment, which you would never carry with you if you're in the middle of the Amazon jungle, or if you're on a survival show like Dual Survival or Naked and Afraid. The stuff that I have in my kit would be totally useless out there, but in like downtown Seattle, it might come into play. So I kind of have to use the same kind of methodology, but optimize it for more of an urban environment where you're part of the grid, where there's a lot more electricity, you have a lot more concrete for shelter purposes. And then what I try to do is I try to modularize or break up the whole concept of preparedness into different type of components or modules and different categories of preparedness. And then I come from a software background, so and then kind of make it a system out of it. So that's what I do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's I watched your one. I watched like a lot of your videos just a few days ago because I wanted to prepare myself for this. And I watched of course the Home Depot one I told you about, but the one that was bug out or bug in.
Yeah.
I did that one, and I found myself thinking, boy, he's staying inside a lot. But I guess, I mean, for something in what you're trying to do, I guess that makes sense, because you're like, okay, well, we might need to hunker down in the house and weather the storm or weather the civil unrest, if we want to call it that, or something where there might be a threat nearby, and you just kind of want to bunker down in the house and stay there and protect you and your family and your property also. So that is a little bit different than the type of prepping I've seen before, which a lot of times is the off-grid stuff, like you're saying.
Well, I think a lot of with prepping, with the whole concept of bug out, it's kind of been romanticized a little bit as far as maybe if it's from the movies, or, I mean, it's cool to talk in terms of a bug out bag. Oh, if something happens, I'm going to go run in the middle of the woods and survive Mad Max style. But really, most people would be screwed if they're in that type of situation.
Yeah.
Unless for a select few that if you're Rambo or something like that. But I think in most scenarios, you want to bug in. That's where all your stuff is. That's where all your water is at. That's where your food at. And with me, I have a family, so I have 2 small kids. I have a wife, and I have some animals. Even if I could survive out there by myself, at some point you're going to run out of food. It's going to be hard to catch things, and especially when you have a family. And so I want to try to get as many different opportunities for bugging in as I can, even if that. And sometimes what I personally do is I might want to disguise my house, like, hey, this house looks like it's been ransacked, or it's not safe to be in, just because I want to be where my supplies are at. And so that's kind of the strategy that I have. So.
Yeah, I remember you saying, you were talking about the Home Depot episode. You're talking about, get some spray paint and then spray paint your own house. So it looks like it's been ransacked. I'm like, it's funny. I laughed at that, but I'm like, that's actually a pretty darn good idea, really, if you think about it.
I think if we're in if there was a time of civil unrest and it's SHTF and things are going really bad, and I'd totally spray paint the outside of my house and break the windows and dump a bunch of clothes out in the front yard and make it look like it's not the place to be at, when really it might be. So that's kind of the strategy that I'd rather have that than have it look like some pristine place that looks like there's nice stuff in there and a lot of
sure,
cracks or something. So
yeah, I mean that's the first kind of place that's gonna the places that are all boarded up and whatnot during the various riots that happen all over the country. You know, even back in the LA riots from way back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, the places that were boarded up and looked like they were locked down and everything, and there's something valuable in here. Those are the places that get hit for the first. Usually.
Yeah, and I like I have a cheat sheet as far as in my evacuation kits or bug out bags and stuff. I have a cheat. I like doing PDFs because it helps me remember things. But I have Katrina X codes, which is what they put on the outside of the doors, like during Hurricane Katrina, where basically you could kind of indicate, okay, this house has been investigated. There's a chemical leak in here. You could kind of do that and kind of make a pig in a poker in a way, or disguise your house to look like, hey, there's been 2 dead bodies in here, when really there might not be. But that's kind of extreme scenarios. Most prepping scenarios is your power's out for a few days, or maybe you lost your job and now you're tight on money. Those are the most common things that you might prepare for.
So we actually had a situation like that in Texas back in February.
Yes.
Where I mean, I guess you're aware of that, but the grid went down for like 3 days. And it was they were rolling blackouts, which basically means they turn off some people and not others, but that's not how it was supposed to work. But that was like it just doesn't get that cold down here, generally speaking. You know, in the last 3 decades, I think maybe 3 times it's gotten that cold, something like that. And but something like what you're talking about would be very, now, I mean, you need to prepare for stuff like that, yes, but I mean, we're talking about, it's been 12 or 15 years since it's been that cold down here. So how realistic is it, do you feel? This is a question for you. How realistic is it? I mean, should you be prepared for stuff like that? That's just really not gonna, the chances of it happening are pretty slim. Or would you do something else, like, you know, just, you know, maybe having a little bit of more of a well-rounded prep for multiple situations type thing?
Yeah, I think what happened in Texas, that was really kind of it seemed like kind of an odd scenario, because no one really expected that type of thing to happen there. So I think it's all based off of probabilities, based off of region specific. So for example, I live in Washington State, in Western Washington. We don't really have that many tornadoes. So I'm not doing as much tornado preps, and we don't have a lot of tsunamis based off of where I'm situated at. If I was on the coast, for example, then that comes into play. I think you kind of have to stack rank and prioritize the type of emergency events that you think are most likely in your particular area, and try the best that you can for those scenarios. And maybe you'll have some overlap with some random scenario that comes into play that you didn't actually prepare for. I used to be looked down on, like a lot of people get into prepping because they're into like zombie movies or stuff like that, or zombie video games. But I used to kind of tease that a little bit. But in a way, if you're prepared for zombies, you're probably prepared for a lot of other events too. So now I'm all for whatever it takes to inspire you to get into home preparedness, because I think the more people that are prepared, the less of a drain on the overall grid and system that you're going to be in. Then like the first responders and stuff could focus on the people that might not be as prepared. So
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So if you were going to tell someone how they should get started, if someone's never say, well, I kind of know what prepping is, or maybe they think they know what it is and they don't, because they're all about zombie movies. How would someone start out? What kind of kit should they start out with? I mean, like, you don't have to get real detailed on it, but some people may think that you have to spend like several $1,000s to get all the right stuff and whatnot. So, but I saw your top 10 things that the 10 C's, I think it was, that some other guy named Michael had put together, and you expanded on that. And I thought that was a really good, I mean, most of that stuff was pretty common. You just don't usually have it all in one bag, I think.
Yeah, and that's more for kits of Dave Canterbury's 10 C's of Survival. But I think like if you're starting off, like let's say you're starting from scratch, you work at wherever, you work in the city, or actually even if you don't live in an urban environment. I think food and water is where you want to start with. There's like the big 3 is basically food, water, shelter. So you can survive 3. They say you can survive 3 hours without shelter in like extreme conditions, like if you're in a blizzard or in a heat wave or something. You could survive 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. They also say 3 minutes without air. I think having enough, starting off with just getting 2 weeks of food and water into place is the way to start for your home preps. I wouldn't recommend just going off and start making a bug out bag as your first thing to do, because like at the start of COVID, for example, people weren't bugging out or anything like that and going Mad Max styles. They were they were bunkering into place, and I think that's the most common thing. And it's just, I think it's good to do, and it gives you a starting place where you can then, okay, now let's go to a month's worth of food, and let's go to 90 days. Okay, at that point now I think I want to have some kits together. And for me personally, a lot of people kind of gravitate, well, I want to make a bug out bag because I want to bug out and go to the woods. And I'm really trying, as the years have been going on, I've been really trying to evaluate. I don't want to bug out if at all possible, because I have a family. It's going to be tough to do. And what am I going to do when I'm out in the woods with a bunch of other people? So for me, those type of kits are for evacuation purposes, where I absolutely have to evacuate my house because the house is on fire, or there's an earthquake and this thing's coming down, or there's a gas leak and I need to get out of here. Those are, and for those type of kits, those are 72-hour base kits. So just enough supplies in there to survive you for 72 hours. So enough food and water for 72 hours, and then the basics. So what I've been doing with my kits is really trying to leverage the 10 C's of survival with regard to Dave Canterbury, because that's more for wilderness. You could survive with those type of things in any type of situation. But I think you could expand upon it with items that are specific for an urban environment, such as USB power banks and solar panels and radios and other things that are crowbars and stuff like that, that's more applicable for an urban environment. Even cash, I think, is an important one to have, because most likely you're not going to bug out to the middle of a park. You're probably going to try to bug out to some motel that's in a non-impacted area.
That's
so
true. Yeah. There were actually motels that were, thank you, Frank, for doing that. There were actually motels in throughout. Well, where we were at the time was down south of here, that had power during the whole Texas winter storm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, and the line was out the door for people that wanted to book a room right now. So, and you can't, you're not going to get on the phone and say, hey, can you reserve me a room this, 2 weeks from now, just in case this happens? But it would be good to have a pack to take with you to where you're going. So that's a good.
That's actually my next video, is actually a motel go bag, because I think everyone should have their evacuation kit. So a backpack or a sling bag or whatever they want for they could call their bug out bag or their get home bag or their go bag. I'm calling it my evacuation kit. But I think as part of that, as an add-on module to it, I think you should have like a motel go bag. I even have a hospital go bag to go into the hospital for extended.
Really?
But
okay.
But for a motel go bag, I think there's some set of supplies that you want to have over there to aid you in that type of situation. But yeah, with what happened with Texas, I mean, that was really a lot of people were impacted with it, and it caught a lot of people off guard, even a lot of preppers. What I try to break down my preps into categories. So again, we talked about shelter categories, we talked about water categories, we talked about food categories. Medical is another important one, like first aid medical. If you have medical training, all the comm stuff where it comes to the ham radios and other type of electronics, it comes into play. I also have clothing items. I have, let's see, I'm going to forget some of them. Cooking type items, and personal type things, and fire making. There's a whole bunch of different categories that I have for there. So I try to look at every single kit that I make in terms of those type of categories. And me personally, I color coordinate all of my preps into modules. So I think it's easier to recognize a red first aid kit. If I see red, I think first aid and medical. And so I'm going to grab that first. And so if I was injured, for example, or if I could easily say, hey, get the red kit out of my bag. And then they'll know that that's the first aid. And then with water, I have that blue, because people associate water with blue. And with for hygiene, I have my hygiene stuff is white. And so I really try to leverage that for all of the prepping systems that I make for not only my home, but for my evacuation kits and my vehicle and the stuff that I have in the office. And I kind of look at it as a high-level architecture diagram that you would use in software. I kind of do the same type of strategy. Same type of strategy for prepping. So it's kind of nerdy,
like
I guess.
Flow chart or something.
I'm that prepper guy that has a bunch of flow charts and stuff. It helps me think of stuff. So because I forget everything. So.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the same way. I use my calendar, and my wife asked me, are you doing something? I'm like, I don't remember. Check the calendar, because I put my stuff up there so I don't have to remember it. So when you say you've got kits for motel, whatever, when you say kit, do you have like a separate backpack? I saw those like Home Depot type bins in one of your videos where you had them color coordinated and labeled and whatnot. Are those the kit? Do you just have a bunch of bins in the garage and you just grab the one for whatever you're doing, or
those particular bins are more for my home prep, so it helps me keep organized, because prepping could easily become, there's a fine line between prepping and hoarding. I think you could really, it could start getting out of control for you. So for me, it helps me stay organized, and they're not as organized inside of those bins as what I'd like them to be, but at least everything's in one place. I know where it is, and I can easily grab it. Now, when I'm talking kits, like for example, let me grab over here.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. That's fine.
Like this, I have roll bags this is like my motel roll bag, and I have another one over here it's my hospital go bag. So if I were to get sick and have to go to the hospital for extended period of time, I have a kit ready to go for that. And I have another one that used to be in my office, but right now I'm working from home, so now it's over at home. So I kind of look at it in the same way when you're going on an airplane, for example. You have your carry-on luggage, or maybe you have your rolling bag, and then you have like maybe a backpack or a sling bag for your. I try to treat prepping in the same way, where I have my main backpack is my evacuation kit, and then some kind of add-on module like my carry-on suitcase. And I try to treat it like that, because again, in an urban environment, we have concrete, we have cars, we have ways and hopefully we don't have to go on foot, but I think leveraging some of those rolling things will help, especially with kids and stuff too.
Totally. Okay. That's good info. My personal problem is always disorganization. I have a bunch of stuff and it's scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you were to ask me, well, do you have this certain thing? Yeah, I do. Give me an hour and a half and I'll find it. And then we can be prepared, that kind of thing. So my thing's always been organization. So I really like the way that you put together those color coordinated bins.
And that's, for me, I mean, I'm naturally disorganized. Like if you look at my sock drawer or whatever, it's a mess. If you on my desk right here, it's a mess. But I want my preps to be ready to go, in order, organized, because if it's an emergency situation and I got to book out of there, I don't want to have to be fumbling. Oh, let me get this, let me get that, let me get that. I want to be ready to go for it. So because in stressful situations, you're probably going to forget something. So So that's, I'm always like, and for me, it gives me peace of mind when it's in a kit, it's done. I made a PDF, I put a video out on it. People have analyzed it. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. Now let's move on to this. And now let's move on to this. It's just never ending for me. But over the years, you start getting a little bit more and more prepared for different things. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
how often do you go back into the kit after you're comfortable that it's where you want it to be, and then you set it aside? I mean, do you go refresh it at all, or look at it once a year or something like that, just to make sure that I mean, like batteries, for example, you got batteries in your kit, you're going to have to make sure that those are always up to date and that kind of thing. So
I do it like I'd like to do it 2 times a year, but mainly like when people at the beginning of the year for their New Year's resolution, they're always they're doing their spring cleaning, or I do it in January. So January is my recharge everything that's in there. Let's get some fresh batteries. Let's do that kind of thing, just to make sure that it's ready to go for most of them. So January is kind of my year, my time to do it. If ideally you would do it twice a year, but for me personally, once a year I'm doing okay, actually. So there's a couple that haven't been touched for a while, but like a lot of preppers are into making caches and stuff like that, and those could go for years. So and you never touch it. So
some of the I've got a bunch of like freeze dried food and whatnot, and that's the shelf life on that stuff's like 10 years.
Yeah, well, so you could a lot of it it's even you could get 20-30 years out of some rice if you store it correctly. So I'm not going to check on that annually, but the kits with anything that's charged needs to be kind of ready. So
and that's always my thing, because I have like radios everywhere, and I've got some that I keep for certain situations, and some that I do as everyday carry, and I'm always just like several times I've been ready to go on a trip or something. I'm like, oh, I need to take this one radio, where I always take it because we use this mode or this frequency or something, and I'll go and the battery's dead because I haven't touched it in 6 months. So I'm like, okay, now where's the charger? I got to go find that, and I got to do this. I got to make sure I have a 12-volt charger, not just a 110 charger, and that kind of thing. So
so for me, like that, I have for the charging type stuff, I would keep it in a yellow module and then have that's my yellow charging module that has all the batteries and all the kind of cables, the right kind of stuff. And then it's all in one place. And then I don't worry about it for a little bit. Then it's another peace of mind and stress off. And then, so that's what I do personally. So, and then when you use a modular approach, you could easily grab that little module that you might have in your bug out bag and move it to another thing. And then all the stuff is just, it's plug and play almost, which is handy for me. So, interchangeable. So you can have stuff like you're talking kind of like a comms EDC where you bring in your certain radios there. I would probably have like some kind of a module that has a yellow band or Velcro or something on it, and then I could grab that and move it to somewhere else into the vehicle or some other thing that I'm doing. To me, that helps me stay a little bit more organized.
I really did use, and this is something I've been fairly new into, but during the Texas storm, I really did use solar panels and batteries.
Yeah,
I said because it was 25 degrees outside, but the sun was shining, and so I set the solar panels out on the patio and get the batteries charged up, and I use those batteries to charge my smartphone and my tablet, because my tablet has a SIM card on Verizon that was working fine, but my smartphone on AT&T was dead for 3 days. So I don't know if AT&T was hit by the power outage or if they just turned off their network or maybe it was saturated. I don't know. But I had two options. I had Verizon and AT&T, and I'm like, this one doesn't work. This one does. And but I needed to keep the batteries charged. So the solar panel thing is actually, that's something I have a few of. I got one here and one here and one here. So I always thought that was, so do you find yourself like in a situation like that? Do you have multiple whatever battery packs, solar panels, whatever? Do you have multiple items and put them in all your different bags, or do you do the modular thing? You just go grab the same one and put it in whichever kit you're going to?
It kind of depends. I think there's like different tiers that you could have for, like if we're talking solar charger or just any kind of charging stuff. Like I have what I would call like my tier 1, my EDC style power bank, and like the solar film, like the solar panel that you could kind of wrap out. It's easy to pack and it's kind of expensive, but and then I guess you could go larger from there. So I also use like the Energy solar power solar bank with the large 100-watt solar panels that I have. That's in I have them in little Faraday bags and stuff. They're ready to go, and so that I could put those out in the front yard and charge when I need to for the larger power modules that I have. Ideally, what we just bought our home about 4 years ago. I'd love to go full on, off grid with the solar panels on the ceiling, but it's kind of expensive, and
it is.
I'm trying to pick my battles on what to invest on for the home preps or for home upgrades. And right now, we're looking at a fence, but yeah, I think,
that's important too.
Yeah, so I think you could have different tiers or layers. That a concept that I like looking at is, I call it complementary redundancy, where I don't want like to have just duplicates and everything. I want them to complement each other in some way. So while it is it's a duplicate as far as the type of capability that it provides, it could complement the other item that's already there. So if I have a bunch of smaller power banks, for example, they could all be charged with a larger one. Or if I have a multi-tool as part of my EDC, I have a different type of tool that complements that multi-tool as part of this other kit. So I try to use that overall strategy. I don't know if that makes any sense. I made a video about it a few years back, but because I don't want to just have, I'm going to have the same thing in each thing here. I want to have like different levels, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, that's kind of the basics that I wanted to take care of, and I did want to ask you, what do you do, and do you have a prepping scenario or plan or something like specifically for radio comms? Do you have something like that at all?
Yeah, I rely on people that are smarter than me at the radio stuff. I'm more of just to be honest, I have most of my radios all programmed for scanning purposes, and we have our what I do is with prepping, there's again, it's such a vast topic. There's guys, I try to build up communities in like neighborhood communities and within my region. There's people in my region that are super good into the medical stuff. There's people in our region that are super into the tactical stuff. And then we have a guy that we're colleagues and friends who's the super ham guy. And and so he kind of leads that within our community. And we have I try to build up a grid because I can't be good at everything. But so we have as far as our family goes, we have various PDFs with radios with basically checklist how-to type stuff, because with my mom, for example, there's no way she's going to get a technician's license. She's not going to do it. And so we have to find so we've tried to find different ways of being able to communicate. Fortunately, she's not that far away from me. So we have different relay nodes on top of our houses. We even like using the GoTenna mesh systems and using some super relays for those, which we really like because she could do that. And my mother-in-law could do that, and our neighbors. And so what I've kind of had to go the long route, because so many people aren't into prepping, they don't want to do too much, and so I have to try to do what's easiest for them. So what's been easy, what I found to be most easiest in our neighborhood is to form a neighborhood watch group, get some iMesh, get some of the GoTenna meshes on various roofs with some little solar panels, solars on there, and we're all able to communicate with each other. So I kind of go with more of a community based, and then let the lead guys lead that effort. So we have our lead tactical guy and our lead ham guy. So that's kind of what we're at. So
well, it's good to rely on other people for. I mean, like, I'd be the radio comms guy, but I'd be relying on other people for medical and whatnot. I mean, I've taken TACCOM with tactical handgun training, and TACCOM for TACMed for not TACCOM, tactical medicine for field medicine and whatnot. I've taken that, but I'm like, I could do it, but like I'm not an expert at it or anything like that. So so that's a good. I think that's a good outlook. Focus on what you're good on, and then build a community out of it. So
so like I'm okay at like the medical stuff, but not that good. But I know we have our medical person, and then the other. I think there's like 4 main areas with prepping. There's the comms people, the communications people. There's the tactical side of things. There's the medical side of things, and then I think the gardening, farming, that someone that can produce food. Those are like the Mount Rushmore of prepping. I think that you want to have those 4 people in your group. And so my wife and I were actually trying to build up on that 4th one as far as the being able to provide food for people and stuff. So I have a lot of the food where it's the freeze dried and the 5-gallon buckets and that kind of stuff. But we're also doing our fair share of growing right now. But we don't. So that's the part that we're focusing on right now on 2021. Actually, for the past 2 years. So
you're going to be doing videos on gardening and whatnot.
Yeah, unfortunately the gardening videos aren't as popular as doing a good old fashioned scary prepping video. But yeah, I'll do some videos. But I've kind of learned that it's not that cool to do the videos on it. But I have a day job, so I'm not really doing it for the views. But I'm definitely going to be doing some. I did one last year talking about how gardening it's not easy. It's not, you can't just hop on and okay, I got some seeds, I'm going to go for it. Like I've had some pathetic harvests for potatoes and tomatoes and stuff, and it's not easy, and it takes constant work to actually be good at it. So that's what we're actually trying to get better at. So
yeah, it also depends on your environment, your geographical location. We can grow tomatoes in Texas, no problem at all, because the sun down here is just phenomenal for that. But like I couldn't plant an apple tree and hope to have anything off of it for 4 or 5 years. So it really kind of depends on the soil and your temperature and all that kind of good stuff too. So it's different stuff, different places.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about comm, you said you had a ham radio guy. Have you ever tried anything with GMRS or FRS or any types of non? I mean, you have to have a license to get it. You have to have a GMRS license to use GMRS radios. But all you do is go online, fill out a form, and click and pay your money, and you're done.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of people who are wanting something to communicate when the cell network goes down, basically, which did happen during our Texas winter storm, and I've been saying for years that can happen. And some people are like, "Oh no, it's good enough now, and it's 21st century, it's good enough." I'm like, no, wasn't good enough. So radio communication, even CB communication, could be very beneficial during a time like that. So have you ever, leaving aside ham radio for just a second, are you prepared in other areas of two-way radio?
We actually during was it during the Texas storm, or actually in I think January, I did some practice stuff with my brother-in-law as far as with CB radios, and I got kind of my CB kit in a Faraday bag ready to go. Preppers, I don't know, we're always worried about EMPs and stuff, so I put my little CB radio ready for the car, and it had that ready to go, and did some various testing. But I should probably do a lot more of it. I just haven't invested as much time in it. But back then, around January, February is when I last did my CB test, basically. So.
good. Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know that stuff's out there, and it is an important. I think it's of course, I have a unique perspective because that's what I focus on primarily. But I think a lot of the times it's stuff like that gets overlooked. In fact, I can't count the number of times I've watched either Revolution or The Walking Dead or one of these other shows like Van Helsing. I don't know if you've seen that one's on Netflix.
It's been watching TV as much.
Well, and I don't watch a lot myself, but sometimes what I do is I start a show and I watch it for 2 seasons, then I drop it and it goes for 8 more seasons. I was like, I don't know what happens after that. But Van Helsing's basically The Walking Dead with vampires instead of zombies. It's like the same stuff going on. The world's in chaos. People are fighting each other, and there's zombies and vampires here in the background that are trying to eat you as well. So, but in all of those situations, I'm always amazed about how people don't know what the heck is going on because nobody thinks to pick up a damn radio.
Yeah.
So it's actually, in my opinion, being able to communicate is important. Being able to listen is probably a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Being able to turn the radio on various frequencies, shortwave, AM, FM broadcast, single sideband on the shortwave frequencies, ham radio, world radio stations that are worldwide, is actually probably more important than being able to communicate, because then you can at least know what's going on around you or near you.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that has, like, I don't know if you can see over here where I don't know how many phones I have. It's kind of like Heisenberg or something from Breaking Bad.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I'm the person that loves listening and getting intel and not talking. So and I kind of do the same approach with the radios, where I have them all pre-programmed in the scanners, and I have my burner accounts on various phones with various SIMs in them for communicating. And then when it comes to getting intel from online, I have various burner accounts for that. With my YouTube channel, that's more of me talking and communicating with people in one way. But beyond that, I prefer just kind of sitting back and listening and getting the information that way, and not talking with people. I don't know if it's a prepper paranoid type stuff, but for me, so I'm on a lot of different forums and servers and with phones and stuff, and I'm just the guy listening, and that's what I like doing. So, and then I let the other people do the talking.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, if there's going to be like a really grid down and, if the government falls,
John Connor style from Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. There's going to be people out there. Yeah, exactly. And so there's going to be someone out there who's able to communicate. And when they do, you need to be able to hear them. So
I have one of the things that I did last summer was to because we've been in our neighborhood watch group, we're trying to build up some of the GoTenna meshes in the neighborhood. We set up kind of a protocol for having one of those go up on a drone that I have. I call it my prepper drone, basically, where we send it up 400 feet, and then now all of a sudden everyone's able to communicate through this mesh networking, which is it's pretty fun. So we kind of do it almost like I Am Legend style, where Will Smith was at noon every day. He was broadcasting, and he wasn't talking to anyone, but he was broadcasting information, saying that John Connor was doing. So we kind of developed a system that, hey, if anything goes down at noon every day, we're setting this thing up, and it's going to be up there for about 30 minutes at a time before it runs out of batteries, and then we're going to recharge with the solar panels. And that's kind of and then even grandma could have one of those connected through Bluetooth and with the mesh, and be able to communicate through text, it was kind of cool. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try GoTenna on a drone now. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we've been doing and then I have some friends that they're also into the drones, and so we're trying to I think this summer what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to send these up at the same time all around the area and see
how big of
because you could do like 7 different hops, I think, with them. So and just to see
cool.
how much of the grid we could get with that. So I think that's. And for you could get 2 of those GoTenna meshes on eBay for about $100 now, and so I think it's kind of a cool way that you could get grandma and grandpa and your friends and family who aren't as into this kind of thing, just to have this ready to go. And hey, noon is our intel time. So
yeah, if you have a plan in place, that's a great idea. So good. Okay, cool, man. Well, hey, this is all really, really cool info. I know I've been trying to watch the chat a little bit. Somebody said, a good friend of mine, Nold's in the chat, he's like, know your neighbors.
Yes.
It's like prepping 101, know your neighbors. And I'm like, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of the prepper neighbor that has like the I have an Excel spreadsheet with, okay, here's so and so, this
Right.
person, and I try to make friends with all my neighbors, all of them.
Sure.
So I know who our gardeners are. I know who is into radio, because you could just drive down the street, you can see who has an antenna on their roof.
Yeah.
And those are my people. And so for Christmas, I go and bring booze bottles to bourbon. It's usually you can make friends with people really quick, and then you start establishing
Right, by giving them liquor. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
totally. Yeah, I had one neighbor that we didn't get a lot, or he didn't really like us right off the bat because of some stuff. So, but over the past 3 years, every Christmas I get him a bottle of bourbon, and now we're like really good friends. And then we find out some stuff that we have in common, and we're able to do kind of trades and stuff. And even the grandma next door, she's like 90 something years old, and she has her certain crops that she has in her backyard, and we do various trading for that. And then she's also kind of the eyes and ears of the neighborhood, and is always looking out her window. So yeah, totally know your neighbors, and because you might need them in an emergency situation.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay. Well, cool. This is yeah, that's that.
Okay. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat too, but it's also trying to look at the camera.
I know. Yeah. That's what I do. And and usually Frank is in here with me, and he'll sit in the background and ask and kind of field questions for me. So Frank, I think that I asked Frank to sit out tonight because I wanted to focus on my time on and let you have the camera as much as possible.
Well, are you into? I don't see. I've been loving all the stuff that you're doing on the channel with as far as the radios and the comms and the communication stuff. And it's awesome seeing how much the channel really seems to be blowing up right now. So it's really resonating. It's really resonating with people, and so I just think it's awesome the work that you're doing. Do you? But I just know you from this particular lens. Do you also do preparedness type stuff, or is it more this is your thing?
No, I think through ham radio I've become more interested in preparedness and not really, like you kind of mentioned up front. You kind of mentioned it, and then we segued somewhere else. But a lot of the times you hear the word prepping and you think doomsday preppers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not, I've got better things to do with my time than stuff like that. But I actually got an invite to attend a what's called a Self-reliance Expo, which you maybe have heard of that. They go all over. They go to Florida and I think California, but they're like a national organization. And this guy called me. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. He called me on the phone. He's like, "Hey, I want to get a radio comms guy to do some presentations at our Self-reliance Expo." I said, "Okay, that's cool." And because that's a big part of ham radio.
Yep.
Off grid, being prepared for communications. Yes. Now, I would like to kind of round that out into a larger umbrella, which I have not done yet, but it's something that I'm interested in learning more about. So that's one reason I was reaching out to folks like yourself.
Yeah.
That we could maybe work together on projects and stuff. But I went to this Self-reliance Expo and was talking to some people there, and I'm like, this is a little bit more down to earth than I didn't know what to expect. This was 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a little bit more down to earth and just kind of like there was a guy there that was selling plant food. Yeah. It was totally organic plant food, and I'm like, well, that's pretty benign. I mean, it's not like it's not like everybody up there is teaching you how to build your own AK-47 with a 3D printer, that kind of thing. So. And there was one guy in there that there was a company that did guard dogs, German Shepherd, beautiful large German Shepherd guard dogs, and they get the dogs out there and they say all these commands to them, and the dog would just sit there, and then they'd say this one command, the dog would pounce. I'm like, that's pretty cool, and they look like they were kind of a fun thing to do, but yeah, to answer your question, that's kind of what I'm moving towards. Traditionally, no, I have not been very involved in that, but I've always been very interested in off-grid living and self-reliance, and just kind of putting more of a self-reliance label on it than prepping. Yeah. Because I asked the reason I bring up the Self-reliance Expo, when he first called me, and I said, "Oh, is this like a prepper thing?" He goes, "Yeah, we don't really use that term because it's got a negative connotation to it, but yes, that's what it is." And I'm like, okay, I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's what I would call this is that you're prepper adjacent. So there's a lot of things that are adjacent that kind of aligns really closely to the same thought that preparedness has, because most preppers, they want to be self-reliant. They want to be able to do homesteading or off-grid living. And the same with, I think, like the ham radio operators are prepper adjacent, people that are people that like going shooting are usually prepper adjacent. The lady that has her home guarded and does pressurized canning and stuff like that, they might not be a prepper, but they're prepper adjacent. So I think important thing is to try to find people within your region and your area and community that you get along with, that you have similar values, and that might be prepper adjacent. And then that's, and because then there's some spillover. But I think everyone that kind of gets into it, they're going to have their area of expertise. And I know yours is with the communications with Intel, all that kind of stuff. But it'd be fun to be able to see if there's someone that's your medical person that's like the guru of that works at a hospital or something like that. I try to find those type of allies as much as I can. But yeah, so for me, again, with prepping, it's such a vast topic. And 6-7 years ago, I was super into a lot of the communication stuff. Now I'm super into how to pressure can chicken, or how to make so I used to have a bunch of I see your desk over here, there's electronics all over the place, and mine used to be like that. Now I have a bunch of mason jars and pressure canners and salt and stuff, and trying to get better at that because I have the gardening stuff. So it's you're always learning, and I always feel like it's just kind of day one where I'm at in my prepping journey, because I still feel like a novice in so many different things, but just constantly trying to get better at all these various things. And eventually you start becoming like a jack of all trades, master of none type thing. So it'd be good to have something that you kind of really master in. But I guess with me, it's just trying to get, my main thing is to try to be more of a prepping evangelist and try to improve the YouTube channel and the online presence, to try to get more people like me, especially me 10 years ago, that wasn't relating with the whole prepping thing because of the negative connotation with it, probably because of shows like Doomsday Preppers, and to try to bring them into it, say, hey, prepping isn't all just this kind of, it's not all zombie hunting, Mad Max style out in the middle of the thing with your military fatigues and going on those kind of things. It's like normal people that just want to be better prepared for the things that could happen unexpectedly in life, whether it be a job loss, or whether it be a snowstorm that you weren't prepared for, or anything like that. For me, it's a form of insurance, kind of like you have car insurance, or like you have homeowners insurance, or you have medical insurance. For me, you have your prepping readiness insurance. And the cool thing with prepping, that at least with my car insurance, I don't get anything out of it. I give them money every month, and I've never had to use it. But for prepping, I'm putting money into it every month, and I actually get some swag out of it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Huh. Cool. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the direction I want to move. I mean, I'll always be a radio guy, but you know, I'm very much interested in more off-grid living, solar panel. You were talking, you mentioned going off-grid with your house and solar panels and whatnot a while back, and I talked to my wife about that years ago. We've never really done anything with it, but years ago I was telling her about it. I was like, well, you can do this and this and this, and it's an initial investment, but then if you do it correctly, you basically don't have an electric bill ever.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that would increase the resale value of the home when we go to sell it, right? And I said, yes, it would. And she's like, let's do that. But I mean, it's a huge investment if you're gonna have your battery bank. Half of the investment for solar is the panels.
Yes.
And you can feed a bunch of electricity back into the grid, and that's all good. But then if your grid goes down, your solar panels can't power your house. So you have to, so the second half of it, the larger expense is the big bank of batteries that actually runs your house, that stays charged during the day. And some companies are going out there saying, oh no, we're just putting panels on your house to suck in the solar and feed the grid. And that's fine, but then I'm like, you're not really off grid. You're just helping the grid.
Yeah, I'm not for that. Yeah, so I know a lot of people are doing it with the right intentions for want to go green, or they want to they want to contribute to the society and to the community.
Sure.
I'm doing it for total selfish reasons. I want to be off grid for, and if that stuff's going down, I want to be the person that has.
Well, you know what, and it's pretty. It's all. And yes, I totally agree with what you just said, and selfish reasons also. But if you're off grid, you are green also.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, if you're not using 2 kilowatts an hour, whatever that, I don't know what the numbers are. Yeah. If you're not using all this electricity every week or month, then you're contributing to the conservation of electricity, and that is actually a very green thing to do. So
the YouTuber Engineer 775 has some great videos, because I think he's recently made his power wall, basically, and which it's able to be more off grid, but in the same kind of similar way. I forget if he's contributing to the community that he's at as far as giving back to it. So, but I have some friends that locally where they have theirs where they don't have electricity bill anymore because they have their own power. But if the power were to go out in the entire city, there's two, it wouldn't work like that. So because
Yeah.
they don't have the power wall. So
Yeah.
I think that's ideally that's what I would like to have. And if you could do it in a way where you're increasing your home value, and that's the way that you're able to convince your significant other to do it, that I'm all for that. So
Yeah. Well, and solar's made a really,
it's come
10
so
or 20
far. Yeah.
Right. 10 or 20 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, no.
And in fact, I attended a seminar as actually at a ham radio convention. We call them ham fests.
Yep.
So I attended a ham fest several years ago, and the guy giving a solar presentation, he's like, the question I get all the time is, how many solar panels do I need to power my own home? And his answer was, more than your roof will hold. So he goes, but as the technology grows, that changes a little bit for the better every year. So, it's kind of one of those things where, do you need to power all of your appliances and all of your rooms and all of your lights and 2 air conditioners, which I have 2 air conditioners, or just turn off your air conditioner and get a little wall unit and cool one room, and then you're on solar and you're still doing good. When the grid goes down, you don't have a choice for power. So that
I think for power, it's probably a good idea to be more a little bit diversified in your different power sources. So if you have your gasoline powered generator that you got at Costco or Home Depot or whatever it is, like and then also having some kind of solar capabilities. And if you have maybe you have a natural gas generator that's outside that you can start up. I have fortunately I have a family member that has a generator company, so that's one of the ones that we would like to do to help with our home value, as far as having that natural power generator out there that kicks on when the power goes off. And so, but I think if you have a few different options, because most likely one of them is going to go bad when you really need it. So hopefully, like in prepping, we call it kind of the rule of 3 is what it's called. So usually having 3 of one type of thing. And for me, like, I want them to complement each other. So that's the complementary redundancy. So I think if you have solar, natural gas, and gas, you're doing pretty good as far as your power goes, and that'll help hopefully. And you don't want to have everything running, so I'm probably not going to have every little light and everything like that going.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to want to go more of a subset.
Right. I mean, keep your fridge running, keep your radio, or your, maybe even your television, if you still have internet, keep that up so that you can keep in touch with like the Weather Channel and whatnot, and keep that rolling, or local news forecast or something. And then cool or heat one room that you can close off, and and then you're good. And then and then there's food too. And if you have like an electric stove or a natural gas powered stove, when we had the power outage here in Texas in February, natural gas was working. The natural gas worked fine. I was like, man, I can't run my fans for my heater on natural gas, because they're electric. So that's one thing I'm actually actively working to change right now. I want to have a generator that runs on natural gas that'll power those devices that are electric, so that I can turn my heater on, which is already powered by natural gas.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, and I think I covered some of those in the video that I have for the Home Depot. We're having your little mini fridge that normally you keep your beer in and stuff during a power outage. Okay, now I'm not going to use my main fridge. I'm going to take the important stuff out of it. I don't care if I lose some condiments, but I'm going to have my important things in this mini fridge. I'm going to power it using my energy solar bank, or I'm going to have my generator running outside, the little Honda one or something like that. But having the natural, and doing the same with, as you mentioned, like kind of sealing off a room, so you could at least have one room cool, or you could have one room hot, and being able to kind of isolate yourself, and then maybe not using your 65-inch screen TV, maybe having a smaller 20-inch one that takes a little bit less juice to have going. So
totally,
I think that's definitely the way to go. So
cool, yeah. I agree. Well, I might, if you're going to do some videos on like generator and natural gas stuff, I might hit you up. And
well, likewise, I'd love for you to come on my live stream to talk more as the electronics, comms, that expert on that. That would be an absolute blast if you're willing to. We'd love to have.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that'd be fun. I and like you were saying, and I hang out with a lot of other guys who have ham radio YouTube channels. We do collaborations together all the time.
Yeah.
And kind of similar to what you do with those other 2 guys you mentioned. But we're always talking about adjacent. So one of the guys does stuff with like one of the guys is really into solar and off-grid living. Another guy is just into like internet connected devices over, not in your home, out and about, where you can staying online while you're moving around and that kind of thing. So and a lot of these guys are into like camping and summit climbing, hiking, and going out and sitting on top of a mountain and making contacts, which I'm like, we call that summits on the air, and I'm
Yep.
like, if the entire area grid is down, then you want to climb up to a summit and make contacts, because that's where your radio signal is going to get out from the best. So
yeah, I love watching the Survival Tech Nord. I like Ham Radio Crash Course. I love Comms Prepper U, and I think that the stuff that you guys do really would lend itself well with like the whole overlanding community, the people that have their vehicles set up and they go off and they could go to that kind of region, to a summit or something like that, with their vehicle that's stocked and with their solar panels ready to go for that. So for like Last Line of Defense and Talon, and there's some different people that do the overlanding really well. I think those would be cool crossovers, because like seeing you or a comms person with an overlander and just seeing how that kind of meshes, that'd be such a cool thing to do. But yeah, again, open invite, but please come on my channel. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm actually working with some overlanders right now. They've got smaller channels, but I watch some of their videos and I'm like, man, these guys really know what they're doing. So they're kind of new to the YouTube scene, but they're very versatile, very practiced in overlanding. And I'm like, I think that's a very much adjacent to because all those guys use either CB or GMRS.
Yes,
and they're like, yeah, we use this because of this, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually not true, but it's a good start, so, and he's like, oh, let's talk about comms then. I'm like, oh, that's my thing, so let's do it.
Yeah, I would love to see like a Last Line of Defense and a Ham Radio 2.0 crossover. I think that'd be cool. That'd be killer.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Cool, man. All right, Cliff, I'll let you go. We're at the top of the hour here, man. This has been really fun. This is the first time I've ever had any type of this specific topic on the channel.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a blast. And I saw there's a lot of you seem a very friendly audience, and I'm gonna try to respond to stuff that I saw in the chat room.
Okay, cool. This, that'd be great. And
in the comment section too. So if anyone's watching the reruns.
Okay. Yeah, and Frank is in there, and he shared the link to the Urban Prepper. In fact, he just put it up there again, the Urban Prepper's Discord channel. And you guys have any questions about specific areas of prepping? I mean, it's like he said, it's like Cliff said, it's a very broad topic. And if you go into his Discord channel, it's 30 or 40 or 50 different rooms about specific topics. There's even a geographical thing down at the bottom where you get like North America, South America, and this kind of thing. So you can go in there and really drill down and talk about specific stuff to you. But it's a fun place in there. I poke around in there. I don't chat in there much, but I'm usually watching the Ham Radio channel in there.
So, thank you so much for dropping by. So I let the Discord people know that we're talking today, so that's going to be pretty cool. So I'll try to respond to because I see Jay Barr has some questions, and Steve, and there's other people in the chat room now. So I'll try to get to those. I'm going to make dinner for the family, and then
sure. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, I didn't want to keep you. So hey man, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time tonight. And have a good one, and we'll be in contact for sure.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Cliff.
Alrighty.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
All right, so we'll pass that over there. Hey, you guys, please, seriously, go subscribe to him if you're not already. He just passed 200,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. So I'm like, tell me how to do that. More people know what prepping is than what ham radio is, and that's cool. That's cool. But it is. He's got a really good channel out there, and I seriously did. I sat down. Today's Sunday. I sat down on Friday and I watched his channel for about 3 or 4 hours. I just wanted to get some of the latest information from his channel so I could better prepare myself to talk about what he's into and what he's doing. And he does a really great job, which is kind of keeping it down to earth. He doesn't get political. He doesn't get like, he doesn't get mean or anything. He just says, hey, this is what I think. Here's this and this and this. Here's what you could do. And he's got a very helpful attitude about him. So he's a real nice guy, both on and off camera. So definitely go subscribe to him and go check out that Discord server as well for that type of thing. In fact, go to, if you join the Discord server, go find the Ham Radio channel in there and chat with me over there, because I'm trying to keep up with stuff in there as much as I can in my own Discord server. We have a Discord server ourselves, of course, for those watching that don't know. hamradio2.com/Discord is a custom link I built for that a while ago. So thank you very much to everybody who was on tonight. This is a little bit different of a stream than I have done before, because it wasn't directly radio related. But like Cliff said, it's adjacent. all these things work together, and working together as a community is a good thing. And that really, honestly, that's what ham radio is all about, is working together as a community. So really good stuff out there. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, guys. Please do join us tomorrow night for Monday Night Ham Radio. We've got several guys on the dashboard tomorrow night. K6ARK will have a video. Red Summit RF, which I saw Charlie said, he says, "Hey, great shirt." He said at the very beginning in the chat. So got the Red Summit RF shirt going on here. These are available at shop.hamradio2.com. So he'll have a video tomorrow night. I think Frank has a video tomorrow night. And I think Chuck has a video. KK6USY. Chuck has a video tomorrow night. And we have 4 or 5 of us in there. And then, of course, T.O.'s Ham Nuggets wraps up the night with that. So that will be tomorrow night, Ham Radio, Monday Night Ham Radio, for those who are interested. Frank will be on Ham Nuggets tomorrow night. Oh, wow. That's, wow, T.O., that's brave of you, dude. That's brave of you. Frank's a good guest. Just don't let him take over your stream. So we need Tank Radio shirt. Yeah, we're working on Tank Radio shirts. We're working on that as well. So good deal. All right, guys. Once again, thank you especially to the patrons. I've actually got a few new patrons that joined me, and I've got a screenshot here of the... Let's see. Let's go back here. And let's go here. And let's go there, right there. This needs to be updated because I've had 4 or 5 new patrons join me since this list was in. So I need to update this. I was preparing other stuff for this stream today, and quite frankly, I just simply forgot to update this list. But I did send a message to all of my patrons 2 days ago. I think it was Friday. And I said, we're going to restart, because I tried this once a couple years ago, and it kind of fizzled out, and I only had like 20 or 30 patrons at the time, but now I've got over 100. We're going to start a monthly private call with all of the patrons that are at the $99 annual price or higher. So we're going to probably run, and I sent a message to them. I said, is weekdays better? Is weeknights better? Is a rotating schedule better? And a lot of people came by and said, oh, do a rotating schedule. Sometimes on a weekday, sometimes on a weeknight, sometimes on a weekend night, something like that. So we're probably going to do a rotating schedule. I'm going to start that in May, right after my 6-year anniversary. So we're going to get together about once a month over Zoom. I'm going to invite all my patrons on and say, hey, what do you guys want to hear about? Did you like the Urban Prepper coming on? Do you like Frank? Should I get rid of Frank? Should I fire Frank and find a real co-host? I mean, that's going to be like a real question in there. So, you know why I tease Frank? Because he loves it. He loves it when I say that stuff. He really does. So, so it's all good. But yeah, Cliff's in the chat answering questions right now. He did have to go make dinner for his family. So, so thank him. Be sure to thank him for being in the chat as well. So 73 to all. Catch us tomorrow night, Monday Night Ham Radio. Catch my Wednesday live stream with Tim Duffy for, I don't need these anymore, with Tim Duffy for Contest University. And next weekend, we will be celebrating 6 years on YouTube with Frank. Frank and I will be celebrating 6 years. I've been on YouTube for 6 years. He's been with me for the last 2 of the 6 years, roughly. And it has been a fun ride. And I'm looking forward to the next 6 years because I love doing this. I love talking about ham radio. I love talking to you guys about ham radio. I love being on YouTube and sharing ideas with the audience and learning from you, because I learn from you as much as I try to put together an educational video and show you how to program a radio or put together a code plug or something. I learn from the audience. I feel like more than what I'm teaching the audience. So 73 all, thanks for being here tonight, and we will catch you several times during this week. Keep in touch on Discord and 73.
Welcome to the announcement of the next YouTubers Hamfest. Hey Frank, play that awesome promo video.
Play that awesome promo video!
Still down from the lack of amateur radio conventions? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
We've got your back.
We're doing it again.
Join us Friday, May 28th through Sunday the 30th
for the biggest,
the loudest,
the largest,
the most extremist. Wait a minute. Are we all extremists? Who let Frank write this thing? I'm not reading that.
Yeah, you can tell Frank I'm not reading that.
What is this? An iPhone release?
I'm not doing it.
Jason did.
I'm not. Don't blame me.
All right, where was I? For the second YouTubers Hamfest around the world.
We'll bring you all the new information about
new radios,
frequency mode,
antennas,
the hottest accessories,
and providing the latest information on our hobby.
along with interviews, blah, blah, blah.
Along with interviews from all our favorite vendors.
So take a break from searching from that random touch lamp that your wife placed in the house and join me.
And me.
And me.
And me. And all of us.
Along with some of the largest
to the smallest ham radio creators.
From your comfortable and safe place, without worrying about picking up anything unwanted.
Man, I was talking about an extra Bofing antenna. You guys got to get your heads out of the gutter there.
Let's all forget about 2020. It's more than 6 months into 2021.
So bring your favorite drink.
Or send me mine. I'm good on QRZ.
Because we will be doing a happy hour.
I'm gonna bring my cigars.
I'm bringing whiskey.
A good scotch?
I like a good fresca.
Which one of you guys put tea in my whiskey cup?
Join us Friday, May the 28th through to Sunday the 30th
for your front row seat to the second annual YouTubers Hamfest
2021.
Stop making the noise.